Hello viewers, today I'm going to explain very interesting topics as autonomous items of BOP and accommodating items of BOP. The first difference and second one balance of trade and current account balance of payment and few questions which is very important and a logical question, reasoning questions. So first of all, I am going to discuss difference between autonomous items and accommodating items. Autonomous items are those which is undertaken for the consideration of profit, or we can write driven by economic motives like profit maximization and income generation. Autonomous items are undertaken for the consideration of profit driven by economic motives like profit maximization and income generation. And these are independent of BOP's overall status, balance of payments, overall status. On the other hand, accommodating item undertaken to cover a deficit or surplus in autonomous transaction, and these are dependent on balance of payments. Their purpose is to correct disequilibrium. जो हमारे पास रुपया पड़ा है उसको हम रिस्टोर करेंगे. Again, autonomous item. These items may involve the movements of goods across the border. These are visible items. For example, export and import of consumer goods and capital goods. These are above the line. Why we are calling above the line? Very important. These are international transactions. These are called above the line because these are sorry. These are above the line because these are international transactions conducted for economic motives. For example, export and import of goods and services, foreign investment, etc. On the other hand, accommodating items undertaken to cover a deficit or surplus in autonomous transaction that dependent on BOPs, their purpose is to correct disequilibrium, restore the imbalance. These items only involve movement of official reserve with RBI. Here may involve the movement of goods across the border. Here official reserves with RBI. These are below the line. Why we are calling below the line? These are capital account transactions initiated by government and central bank to cover surplus or deficit. For example, borrowing from international organizations like IMF, International Monetary Fund, and using foreign exchange reserves to settle the deficit. So this is what the difference between these two, and it is very important to understand the profit maximization है, इधर autonomous undertaken cover है deficit और surplus के लिए, ये independent है, ये dependent on BOP है. Here these items may involve movement of goods across the border. Here movement of official reserve with the RBI, Reserve Bank of India. So, for example, export and import of goods and capital goods under autonomous item, these are above the line. Why we are calling above the line? Because these are international transactions conducted for economic motives. For example, exports and imports of goods and services, foreign investment, so on like that. So now the next topic is balance of trade and current account balance of payment. Balance of trade, simply we can say that it is the difference between export and import. It records import and export of goods only. But over there, current account balance of payment, it records import and exports of goods and services and current transfers, unilateral payments. So it is the difference between a country's exports and imports only. Here it is the sum of balance of trade, net factor income from abroad, and net current transfers. So these are the two difference. Third one is it is a narrower concept because it focuses only tangible goods. This one is a broader concept. It includes both goods and services as well as income and transfer. So it is a component of the current account. So these are the three simple difference. So carefully noted with example. Always answer with example. Only then you are in full control of the topic. Otherwise, it is difficult. So now the next question is how is cancellation of, here the topic is how the cancellation of coal blocks allocation by the Supreme Court of India likely to affect our current account deficit. How is cancellation of coal blocks allocation by the Supreme Court of India likely to affect our current account deficit? So students, very important, it likely to cause a fall in supply. जब कैंसिलेशन ही कर दी, प्रोडक्शन ही कैंसिलेशन कर दी, तो fall in supply of coal, especially for the production of electricity in India. So coal is the input for generation of power in India, also in other countries too, in so many countries. It cause a rise in imports. इससे बड़ा इम्पैक्ट क्या पड़ेगा जब प्रोडक्शन ही बंद होगी, तो imports will be increased. A rise in imports implies a rise in current account deficit. Other things remaining constant, economics में बहुत बार आता है ये, and very important word, कोई दो देशों में युद्ध ना हो जाए, कोई नेचुरल कैलेमिटीज ना हो जाए, कोई कोरोना जैसी बीमारी ना आ जाए, ऐसा कुछ ना हो इन विच ऑल कंट्रीज विल बी अफेक्टेड. अगर दो देशों के बीच में युद्ध भी होता है, वार बिटवीन टू कंट्री, it impacts a lot to other countries, depend upon the situation. So this is a small logic. And next, how do we finance the deficit on current account balance of payment? जो करंट अकाउंट बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट में अगर डेफिसिट हो गया तो उसको कैसे फाइनेंस करेंगे? एक्सपेंडिचर ज़्यादा हो गया, इनकम कम होगी. इन केस ऑफिशियल रिजर्व्स विद द आरबीआई आर नॉट मूव्ड, साथ में ये कंडीशन भी लगा दी. तो इसके अल्टरनेटिव, देयर आर टू अल्टरनेटिव्स, मैनी मोर आल्सो. वी बोरो फ्रॉम रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, चाहे आईएमएफ से, वर्ल्ड बैंक से, किसी कंट्री से, किसी फाइनेंशियल बड़े इंस्टीट्यूशन से. Then, for examples, financial assets. We borrow from rest of the world. Number two, we sell our asset. We sell our assets to the rest of the world. वो कौन सी assets हैं? Financial assets, like stocks and bonds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, insurance, contracts, etc. There are many more. Then number two, physical assets, ये भी हम बेच सकते हैं, like plant and machinery, equipment, precious metal, physical currency, etc. So these are the two alternative. Under that we can borrow from rest of the world and sell to rest of the world financial assets as well as physical assets. Financial assets like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, insurance contracts, etc., government securities too, physical assets like plant, machinery, equipment, precious metal, physical currency, etc. So these are the two small questions based on logical thinking. So do practice on this question. Thank you very much.